would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Planning Commission. Today is November 6, 2024. Time is 6:32. Clerk, could you call roll, please?
Commissioner Bowie,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamade, Commissioner Rose.
Here. Oh, wait.
Vice Chair Anderson, Chair Wolbert.
I'm here.
Chair Wolbert, you have a quorum.
Fantastic. Now's the time we'd like to salute the flag, so if you wouldn't mind, stand with me. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. I got it. Okay. Item number 3, report from the Planning Secretary on any late communication items. I don't think we have any tonight. Is that correct?
No, we don't have any.
Fantastic. Item number 4, ex parte communications. Ex parte communications, this section is intended to allow all officials the opportunity to reveal any disclosures regarding site visits or ex parte communications about the public hearing and regular business items. Do we have any disclosures?
I have a chance to visit the site.
Okay. Push the button, make sure the green light's on.
No, I do not.
Perfect. I do. I actually met with the applicant for item 8.1 tonight. All right, we'll move on to item 5, special presentations. Do we have any special presentations tonight? I don't think we do, correct?
No, we don't, Chair.
Fantastic. Agenda item number 6, oral communications. Clerk, would you mind reading the procedure into record?
This is the time of the meeting that members of the public may address the Planning Commission on matters of public interest which pertain to the city and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Members of the public wishing to address public hearing items shall do so at the time of the public hearing, unless extended by a majority vote on the Planning Commission. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. To address the Planning Commission, please complete a blue request to speak form that is provided at the entrance to the council chambers and submit the form to the Planning Commission clerk. When your name is called, please step to the podium at that time and state your name and city of residence for the record.
Do we have any blue speaker forms tonight?
We do not, Chair.
Okay, so at that time, I would like to go ahead and close oral communication, seeing there is none. Item number 7, we're going to go ahead, the approval of minutes. I think, Tony, I just want to make sure you got a copy of the minutes as well. I know they weren't in our binders, but did you get a copy of the last meeting minutes?
Yes, I did.
Fantastic. Do we have any motions for the minutes?
I would like to make a motion for the minutes.
To approve them? I'd like to point out real quickly on the minutes, Tony.
Yes.
We did notice that the minutes didn't have the correct roll call in item number 1. Under present, we had all 5 commissioners present, and there was no absentees. So can I amend your motion to say approval with amendment on the item number 1 to include the correct?
Yes, I would like to make an amendment on items that Chair Wolbert presented.
And I'll second. So if you'd like to call a roll on that.
Commissioner Bowie,
Yes.
Commissioner Rose,
Yes.
Chair Wolbert.
Yes. All right, we will go ahead and move on to item number 8, which is our public hearings. Clerk, if you wouldn't mind reading that into record one more time.
Anyone wishing to speak on an open public hearing should complete a blue request to speak form that is provided at the entrance of the council chambers and submit the form to the Planning Commission clerk. When your name is called, please step to the podium and state your name and city of residence for the record. Each attendee will have 3 minutes to comment on each public hearing item. The applicant or their designee will have 12 minutes to speak and will also be provided a 3-minute rebuttal with exception of the applicant or designee. All attendees may only speak once. The Planning Commission may use its discretion to allow a speaker to exceed the allotted time or may ask a speaker to return to answer additional questions.
All right, we are going to start with item 8.1, which is case number 2024-0047, which is a conditional use permit and development review mixed with and also including case number 2024-0252, a zoning map amendment. I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to city staff.
Good evening, Chair Wolbert and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Stephanie Tomaino, Contract Principal Planner, presenting on behalf of the Community Development Department. The project site is comprised, give it one moment. It looks like there is something blocking the view of the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, all right. Okay, so the project site is comprised of 2 parcels, which total about 3 acres in area. The larger parcel is currently used as a trucking logistics company, and the smaller parcel is used as a towing operator for impounded vehicle storage. This area is comprised of a mixture of land uses and zones. To the north of the project site is an express car wash in the Garden Grove city limits. To the east, there is a gentleman's club and other industrial uses. To the west are additional industrial uses, as well as the Southern California Edison substation. And to the south of the project site are single-family residential homes. The 2 parcels are located in different zoning districts as detailed on this slide. One is zoned C2, general business, and the other is zoned CM, commercial industrial, within the planned development overlay. Both parcels are designated as regional commercial in the general plan land use element. The larger parcel is accessed directly off Garden Grove Boulevard, and the smaller parcel is accessed by way of a shared access agreement through the adjacent gentleman's club use. As you can see from this street view image, the site is largely industrial in appearance. The existing site is primarily comprised of paved concrete for vehicle and truck storage. There is a small building on the larger parcel, which the applicant proposes to demolish. The project is comprised of 2 entitlement requests. First, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit and development review to construct and operate a battery energy storage system, which is also referred to as the Westminster Reliability Project. Second, the applicant is requesting an amendment to the zoning map to remove the planned development overlay from the smaller parcel. Now, staff's presentation will not go into the operational details of the proposed use or the technology behind the proposed batteries. The applicant has prepared a very detailed presentation, so staff's presentation will instead focus on really the particulars of the project that pertain to compliance with the zoning code and other land use policies. Here's the proposed site plan detailing the layout of the equipment. The majority of the site will be dedicated to the battery energy storage system, which is shown in pink. The small corner, it's a little bit hard to see, but if you can see my cursor, it's hovering over it right now. That will be dedicated to the project substation, which will convert stored energy and feed it directly into the adjacent SCE substation. In addition to the batteries, the proposed site plan includes a number of transformers, storage containers, which are about 10 feet tall, and other support equipment. The applicant does not propose to construct any building structures, therefore the site is not required to provide any parking. The applicant stated in their project description that the facility would be unmanned and primarily operated remotely. There is 1 existing parking stall on the site to support the existing towing operator, and the applicant proposes to maintain that existing parking stall to accommodate any future workers visiting the site to conduct routine maintenance. Now, here are a few excerpts from the applicant's materials. The majority of the site will be used to install 172 Tesla battery energy storage enclosures, which are illustrated here. The batteries are about 9.5 feet tall, and the batteries would be primarily screened from view by proposed and existing walls and fencing. According to the applicant's CEQA memo, which was provided as attachment 6 to your staff report, these batteries are fully certified and routinely tested to ensure compliance with health and safety standards. Conditions of approval are also included, requiring the batteries to be reviewed and approved by the Orange County Fire Authority prior to building permit issuance. Along the southern corner of the project site is the proposed substation, which would connect to the existing SCE substation. The project substation includes equipment ranging in height from 18 feet to 29 feet in height, which are detailed on this slide. This proposed equipment will not be screened, and it will be generally visible outside of the project site boundaries. The equipment shares a similar appearance to the equipment currently found at the SCE substation. Overall, staff found that the proposed project meets the required findings to support approval of the requested CUP and development review. The proposed use is most similar to a public utility facility, which is a conditionally permitted use in all commercial zones, subject to Planning Commission approval of a CUP. Because the applicant does not propose to construct any building structures, there are very few development standards applicable to the project. The applicant proposes several improvements that would increase the value of the property. For example, they are adding landscaping to comply with the minimum 15% site landscape coverage requirement. And a significant amount of that proposed landscaping would be installed along Garden Grove Boulevard, as detailed in the exhibit on this slide. And overall, the additional landscaping would seek to enhance the site's aesthetics and improve the visual character of the street. The applicant also proposes to install several safety measures such as security cameras, gates to restrict access, and climbing deterrents along the new block walls. Both parcels are designated as regional commercial per the general plan, and the applicant has provided various technical reports to support the project, including a fiscal revenue analysis. Staff recommends including a condition of approval to ensure that the city receives the projected one-time tax revenue from the purchase of the equipment. The next two slides will discuss the perimeter fences and walls. Overall, staff is very supportive of the applicant's proposal to secure the site and upgrade the perimeter walls and fences. The two images at the top illustrate the proposed wrought iron swing gate and fence to be installed along the street frontage. These improvements, along with the landscaping, will enhance the overall aesthetics from Garden Grove Boulevard. Staff is also supportive of the new block wall to be installed, which is 8 feet tall, with a 1-foot tall climbing deterrent at the top. However, staff is not supportive of maintaining any chain link fencing at the site. This exhibit illustrates the combination of materials that would make up the site boundaries. Anything in red represents existing fence materials that the applicant proposes to maintain. The green line, which is a little bit cut off at the top, it represents the new wrought iron fence material, and the blue line represents the new block wall. The combination of new and existing walls creates somewhat of a hodgepodge appearance, so staff recommends including a condition of approval requiring the perimeter wall improvements to be extended along the entirety of the site boundaries. This condition would ensure that existing materials such as barbed wire and chain link fencing would be removed from the site. As noted at the beginning of staff's presentation, the project site is surrounded by a mixture of uses, including commercial, industrial, and residential uses, along with an existing public utility. As part of the application review, staff evaluated the land use compatibility of the project with adjacent residential uses. The proposed battery energy storage system is located approximately 100 feet away from the nearest residential property line, and the project site is separated by an existing flood control channel. This is the street view from the residential properties closest to the SCE substation. The batteries are not expected to be visible to the occupants of these residential properties since the batteries will be largely screened by fences, wall, and landscaping. However, the project substation equipment would be visible as those structures range in height from 18 to 29 feet. This area already features tall transmission lines and electrical equipment as seen in this exhibit. So while the proposed equipment would not be visible or would be visible to the public, it is not expected to significantly impact the visual character of the area, since taller electrical equipment already dominates the landscape. The applicant is also requesting a zoning map amendment to remove the PD overlay from the smaller parcel, which is shown in purple. This PD overlay was originally intended to allow for mixed-use development. However, over the last few decades, this overlay district really has rarely been used in the city, and in more recent years, it's been replaced by the newer mixed-use zoning districts. Staff is supportive of the zoning map amendment as the parcel is not suitable for large-scale development as envisioned by the PD overlay. This zoning map amendment is not required to establish the proposed utility facility. However, the applicant wishes to clean up the zoning map by removing the PD overlay to ensure the zoning more accurately reflects the site's intended use and surrounding context. Staff completed an environmental assessment and determined the project is categorically exempt from CEQA as it qualifies for a Class 32 exemption for infill developments. The applicant's consultant prepared a technical analysis, which was provided as Attachment 6, evaluating environmental impacts related to various topic areas. The analysis concluded that the project is categorically exempt from further secret review because the project would not result in significant effects related to traffic, air quality, water quality, utilities, public services, fire safety, aesthetics, and so forth. In accordance with the Westminster Municipal Code, public hearing notices were mailed to property owners and occupants within a 500-foot radius of the project site boundaries. Notices were also posted at the project site, on the city's website, and on public bulletin boards. Staff received several public inquiries requesting additional information on the project. The written public comments that were submitted to staff prior to publication of the agenda packet are attached to the staff report. No additional written comments have been received to date. In conclusion, the project complies with the zoning code, is consistent with the general plan policies, would not create impacts adversely affecting the public health and safety, and would provide benefits to the public related to visual site enhancements and fiscal revenue. Staff recommends the Planning Commission take two separate actions. First, adopting Resolution 2024-12, approving the CUP and development review application. And then a separate resolution, 2024-13, recommending that the City Council approve the zoning map amendment, since that is a legislative action that would ultimately require City Council approval. With that, this concludes staff's presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions for city staff at this time? Anything, Tony?
Yes, I do. How many projects similar like this we have in our city of Westminster?
This would be the first privately maintained and operated utility facility of this type. So this would be the first application that I'm aware of.
Okay. Have you ever checked other cities similar to our city, whether they have this type of facility?
I am aware of similar types of facilities proposed in the general region in Orange County and beyond, but perhaps that's something that I would defer to the applicant to elaborate on during their presentation.
Okay, thank you. I have not.
Go ahead.
I have a question just regarding the name of it. It's called the Westminster Reliability Project, right?
That is correct.
Is there a reason that it's named that? Is this, because this is a battery storage, this is a power storage facility, is this something that like the city will get benefit from?
That is the name of the LLC, the legal entity that filed the application.
Is this a better question for the applicant then?
Sure, that might be a question that
So
they might be
there's
able
no,
to expand on.
specific agreement where like the city of Westminster gets power from it in case of an emergency or something like that?
Yeah, I would defer that to the applicant. But as far as the project name, that is what the applicant, that's how they refer to the overall project and how they filed the application with the city.
Okay, thank you.
You mentioned during your presentation about the wall improvements. You noticed, you had that decorative fence, the wrought iron along the front, new 8-foot block wall, and the rest was chain link. You said that city staff recommends replacing the chain link with additional block wall?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
So the way that the condition is written right now, we would require, if ultimately the Planning Commission agrees with staff's recommended condition of approval, that's something that we would work out during the plan check phase to see if there are any site constraints that would limit the ability of extending that block wall. But tentatively, that is what staff is envisioning, is simply extending the CMU block wall along the entirety of the perimeter boundaries.
And is that part of attachment 1 in the CUP? I was trying to find it to see if
Yeah.
that wording was in there about replacing that additional fencing.
Yes, that would be on page 7,
Okay.
condition 7. So it states the applicant shall revise the plans to upgrade the entirety of the site's perimeter fencing /walls to give the overall property a cohesive appearance and to improve the overall appearance of the site. Chain link fencing, barbed wire, and any undesirable elements, as determined by the community development director or designee, along the perimeter boundary shall be removed from the site.
And are you suggesting it gets replaced with block wall?
It's not explicit within the condition,
Okay.
because this is not something that we specifically discussed with the applicant. So in case there are any, I don't know, potential constraints that would affect that ability, that's the reason why the condition was written that way, to allow for that flexibility. But the Planning Commission, with a consensus vote, could explicitly detail what those proposed or those enhancements should be made of.
And the fencing, though, is also maintained by the adjacent properties, correct? Or are you going to, or is the CUP solely going to be placed on the applicant to replace that fencing, or?
That would be correct. It would be a condition of approval imposed on the applicant, and that's something that we would require them to
Negotiate with the neighbors?
Yeah, basically figure out and make sure to include within the scope of the project.
Okay. Any, just rough off the top of your head, any idea in the amount of fencing, linear feet?
I'd have to measure it out.
Okay.
There is a significant amount, since it is a fairly long property, and that's the reason why we did write the condition to be a little bit more open-ended, so we would have the opportunity to have that discussion with the applicant to see if there would be any constraints.
Gotcha.
Since we do recognize it's a fairly long site, and we are requiring a significant amount of existing chain link fencing to be removed and upgraded.
Understood. And again, to the east of the property, who's the current owner or the tenant?
To the
I
east
think
of
the west, you said, was the Gentleman's Club. Is that correct?
it would actually be, let's see if I can pull. Oops. Oops.
I don't know if you want to pull up that map again.
Commissioner Rose, if I could remind you just to speak directly into the microphone.
I think
Thank
it's
you.
the storage facility.
That's correct. It looks like it's the storage
Is
facility.
It almost looked like from a satellite image that there might be something in between, but I believe it's a self-storage.
And was the upgrade in fencing for a security on the staff's part? I'm just trying to understand what it was, or just aesthetic?
Purely aesthetics. Typically, as part of just an application, we're usually looking for opportunities to enhance and improve the overall site aesthetics, and looking at the application and looking at the fact that there are two separate parcels that will now be used as one cohesive site. There is opportunity to, create a little bit more consistency between the two different parcels, since they would essentially be functioning as a single battery energy storage system facility.
And the smaller parcel, there are going to be no points of ingress anymore, correct? The fencing will be occupied. I think currently you said that there's an easement granted by the Gentleman's Club that allows to that back property.
There actually is a vehicular gate along the back. It's a bit harder to see. There is a gate right now that's utilized by the towing operator, and I believe that gate is going to be maintained. So that's where vehicular access would still be maintained.
So, okay, so there's going to be access from the street on Garden Grove Boulevard, and where's the additional access?
So right now, you would have to essentially, along the Gentleman's Club, you would have to drive through that site
Yep.
to be able to access the existing towing operator. I don't unfortunately have an exhibit that shows that, but along just the short end of the parcel, if IT could just bring up thank you very much, right over here.
Okay.
There's a vehicle gate. And that's where the vehicle gate would be maintained, even with the site improvements.
Okay. Any other questions for city staff at this time? All right. Seeing no other questions, I'd like to go ahead and open up the public hearing. So we can start with the applicant. It'd be great to give them their 12 minutes. Have them come up,
Yes.
and then we'll open the rest.
We have Christina Gisbert.
Okay, does it, automatically come on. Oh, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm proud to present the Westminster Reliability Project. This project was developed in partnership between RW Clean Energy and Upstream. Upstream is a boutique development firm located in San Diego. They applied for the conditional use permit and brought us to where we are today. RW Clean Energy is a much larger corporation that'll be providing the investment capital to build the project. My name is Christina Gisbert. I work with RWE, and I thought I'd share a bit about our company. If I can switch slides here, there you go. So RWE is one of the world's largest power producers. Here in the United States, we are the second largest owner of, utility scale solar. My office is located in San Diego, so is Upstream, by the way. And however, the parent company is located in Germany. The company is a 125-year-old German electric power company, and they have over 100,000 employees worldwide. So yeah, they've been in the renewables business since the 1970s, and here in the U.S. and investing in the U.S. for the past 20 years. So here in the United States, RWE owns and operates 16 lithium-ion battery facilities. We've been building them for the past 10 years and have a lot of historical knowledge about how to do it right. Our energy facilities total 750 megawatts. So here's a bit about energy storage systems. The general idea is that we can store energy during periods of overproduction and then dispatch that energy when we need it most. Doesn't require a fuel source, doesn't have any moving parts, requires a very small facility footprint, and there's zero emissions. It's one of the few energy producing facilities that you can build within an urban environment. So this is a famous curve in California. It's called the duck curve. And basically what it shows is that at noon every day, the demand for power goes down. We're all at work in the same buildings, and we're conserving energy. But at that time, that's also the time of day where solar produces the most energy. And as a result, our state is wasting gigawatts of energy that we could be using to charge our batteries and to have that energy available when we need it most, when we come home from work or from school. There's a particular local need here in Westminster in the greater region for battery storage. There are 3 natural gas-fired plants in the region that are seawater cooled. They're very old. The region hates them. People don't like looking at these facilities at our beaches. There's one in Long Beach, Huntington Beach, and Oxnard. They're slated to be shuttered in 2026, and that's going to create a capacity shortfall. We can have battery storage here in our population centers and add to the reliability of our system without having transmission lines crossing our skies. The Westminster Reliability Project is a 110 megawatt lithium-ion storage facility that's capable of powering 82,500 homes for a duration of 4 hours at a time. So here's the project location. I know Steffi covered quite a bit of this. It's at the northern border of the city on Garden Grove Boulevard next to Golden West Street. Here's a close-up of the site. The idea is to clean up the site, remove all the asphalt, remove the trucks, clean it up. It's had years of automotive maintenance. We're going to clean that all up, clean the soil up. The batteries will be on a gravel substrate, so that'll improve the stormwater quality. We won't have idling trucks there anymore, generating emissions and creating noise. The site's located right next to the SDE substation. And what's nice about it is that our substation will be maybe a third of the size of the SDE substation, and the connection is going to be underground. So the substation is going to be as low profile as it can be, and the site, the vast majority of the 3 acres, is going to be a maximum of 9.5 feet tall. It's about as low profile of a development as you could hope for. Not even a single family residence is that short, or a single story residence is that short. We're located right next to the Library Gentlemen's Club and a storage facility, as you noted earlier. So it's a pretty industrial area. The 22 freeway is right there to the north. You can see the site plan right next to it. It's basically just going to be, rows of batteries, and should be really clean and quiet, peaceful development. So here's the before and after. Well, this is what the site presently looks like. At the top here, you can see the semi-trucks there. Should be an improvement. It'll be a much more peaceful looking development. You'll basically just see landscaping. You might see about 1.5 feet of the tops of the batteries, but the sky will remain open. And what's nice about this facility in particular is that the battery will operate for 20 years, and it'll keep the site open and prevent, a very large structure from coming in and blocking views. This is what it'll look like when you drive past it on Garden Grove Boulevard. Here's a note on safety. We've been working arm in arm with Orange County Fire Authority since we submitted our CUP application. We are required to get their approval on a fire master plan, which we will work in close coordination with them to obtain. And they're also going to sign off on our building permit. This will ensure that the fire department is satisfied with our design and that this facility is designed to the safest extent possible based on our most modern understanding on how to do this right. So the technology we're going to use is the Tesla Megapack 2XL. This is exactly what it looks like. It's basically just cabinets. Everything's accessible from the outside. There's no structure to walk into. You just see these cabinet doors. I can show you what it looks like on the inside. This is the inside of the Megapack. You can see the racks of the cells. In the center is the inverter. Personnel can just walk up, open a cabinet door, and service the facility. So it's convenient for the workers and the safest design concept we have to date. The Tesla Megapack has a ventilation system to make sure that pressure never builds up. It has an internal system to make sure potential flammable gases do not build up. So it's a state-of-the-art design in terms of safety and energy efficiency. The Tesla Megapack complies with all major installation codes for energy storage systems. And most importantly, it's going to be continuously monitored by our operations staff, which will work in the region. Will be monitored 24/7. We're going to monitor the voltage, state of charge, thermal detection. If we notice any anomalies, we can de-energize the site. And if need be, we can implement our fire master plan, call the fire department, and work hand in hand with them to mitigate an incident. I will note that over the 10 years of RWE operating its various battery systems, we have not had a single safety incident at any of our facilities. The chances of there being a significant event is less than 0.1%. There's some serious land use benefits to consider for the community. As I mentioned before, the Megapacks are only 9.5 feet tall. It'll keep the sky open. You'll be able to see right over the tops of them for the 20-year lifespan of the project. It'll prevent a very large structure from being constructed there that could bring in traffic and noise and pollution. It'll be very quiet, and it'll be zero emissions. The project has significant financial benefits for the city. As part of our CUP application, we prepared a fiscal analysis, and the city hired a third-party consultant to check it over and confirm its findings. The third-party consultant found that the Westminster Reliability Project will generate $250,000 a year in gross tax revenues. That is over twice the amount of gross tax revenues, mostly property tax, which would be used towards schools, road repair, emergency services. It's over twice as much as another commercial use that could be constructed on that site. On top of that, the construction of this facility will be very expensive, and as part of our conditions of approval, we are required to allocate the sales tax for this facility to the city of Westminster, and that's projected to be about $3 million. So that'll be a one-time sales tax revenue for the city totaling $3 million. Also, this facility is going to generate about 3 to 5 high-paying jobs in the region to operate and maintain it. And most importantly, we're really proud to say that We can contribute quite a bit to the community for this project. RWE always gives back to the communities that we invest in. And we are partnering with Orange County Community Foundation to give $100,000 annually for scholarships and nonprofit donations in Westminster. The idea is to give $50,000 in annual scholarships to Westminster students and $50,000 annual donations for local causes. So I thank you for your consideration and your time, and we look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant before she goes?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to ask the same question that I asked to staff, which was the name is Westminster Reliability Project. It kind of implies that Westminster is going to benefit from the energy that is stored in case of an emergency or an outage, that Westminster is going to get, first stab at that.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, so it's going to plug right into that SCE substation. The way it's accounted for is that it would go into SCE's greater system, but electrically, it very well will serve the immediate surroundings. So yes, this power will be used in the local area. Does that make sense? Electrically, the electrons will flow to the nearest point. So it will be used within that locality.
Thank you.
I have a question about the how many projects you have in the cities surrounding Westminster.
So we're building one right now in the city of El Cajon, and we have a couple others in LA County area that we're going through the permitting process on. I have another in El Centro, however, that one's a little bit more rural in that spot. But yeah, a lot of experience building batteries throughout the country.
Does it meet the performance that you showed to the people here?
Absolutely. They perform very well. As a matter of fact, we're willing to put our dollars to that and make this investment to build it. And utilities are willing to purchase the power. The efficiency is quite high with these battery systems.
And are there any incidents like fire safety occurrence within the past years?
RWE has not had a single incident at its 16 facilities that it's built over the past 10 years. There are news stories about other batteries that are very old, designed in a completely different manner with a completely different chemistry that have had incidences. This facility is nothing like that, does not have the same chemistry. It'll be state-of-the-art and will employ the highest safety standards based on what we currently know on how best to do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. 2 more questions.
Sure.
Regarding the frontage on Garden Grove Boulevard, the illustration that you've provided, that shows that there is trees and low greenscape.
Yeah.
And from when we were talking about the perimeter, is that going to be wrought iron all the way across, or is it just wrought iron at the gate, the swing gate?
Oh, so the way it's currently designed would be such that it's wrought iron all the way across. But that's a really final design question that you're asking, and we will design it however the city prefers and will approve.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also that would lead into another question, which is the maturity of the landscape that's getting planted, because your illustration obviously has trees that look like they've been there for 30 years.
Sure.
So they're nice and big and full.
Yeah, yeah. We have no issue with providing the landscaping that the city will be happy with. We can put larger trees there. They're going to sign off on the final landscaping plan, and we'll be sure that they're pleased with what we design and plant out there. We have no objection to putting larger trees out there at all. Yeah.
And then my last question is, what is producing the energy that is going to be stored in these batteries?
Yeah.
Where is that energy being produced?
Yeah, so Technically, it's throughout the California state grid. So it could be anywhere from the state of California, the solar facilities out in our deserts, you know, the local gas-fired facilities while they're still in operation, from a variety of sources that are already on the grid. It's all interconnected.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
First, on the project and the site. And I noticed in the renderings, too, you had 2 gates up front on Garden Grove Boulevard. Is there a need for the 3rd gate in the back? What's the
I think-
advantage of keeping that gate?
Yeah, I think you would want as much access points as you want, as you can, as available. This way, you know, the fire department can access from the south. We certainly wouldn't want to close off entry to the site. It's beneficial to be able to access from the south and from the north.
Okay.
For safety
And all those gates are going to be electronically controlled by the fire department and all that stuff?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that will be part of the fire master plan. It's specifically spelled out as a requirement. Yeah.
In regard to our resolution here tonight for the conditional use permit and talking with city staff, they're recommending that you guys would look into upgrading the entire perimeter of the project. Is that something that you're open to, considering? Any issues with that?
We are open to it. It sounds like we can work with the city on the appropriate material to do so. We don't wish to push back on that. We want to be sure that the city is pleased with the aesthetics and is happy with the design. So, yeah.
From my perspective, there's only, a couple of sides of that project that are visible to the general public, which would be along the west side, the back end of the parking lot of the Gentlemen's Club, and the frontage on Garden Grove. The other part between the storage unit and the substation, I mean, only the workers of those places are going to be looking at that. So that's something to consider, definitely. I mean, obviously, in Westminster, we're very concerned about project look and feel.
Right.
And I agree with staff on that. And if you're open to making modifications to have the gate in the back match the gate in the front so that it's all consistent, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
On the project itself, just for the general public's understanding, and to eliminate confusion, basically you guys are going to be the battery backup or a local battery backup for Southern California Edison.
Yeah.
So Edison generates the power, the substation feeds the batteries, you store it for them, and when they say, hey, we need some power, you sell it back.
Exactly.
Okay, so are you any way affiliated with the OC Power Authority?
No.
Perfect. Great question. I wanted to just make sure we got that cleared up. There are some controversies around that organization, and I want to make sure. This is independent. You're operating directly with Southern California Edison. The benefit is you're their battery backup, and the benefit for the residents of the city is we will experience less what we call brownouts because we're not over-tapping the grid to where we can't produce power or we can't get power to residents when they need it, especially in the summertime. I really appreciate you putting that duck body curve in there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later after we close the public hearing. But those were just my questions and statements for you. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you very much. Do we have any other speakers tonight?
Yes, Chair. Our first speaker is Lydia Amon, speaking in opposition.
This is the view from my front yard.
Ma'am, if you wouldn't mind, come up to the mic and then pull the mic
Okay.
down.
So that's the view of my front yard. So we don't get to see the pretty trees that you're talking about. My concern is it's so close to our house, within a football field. There's my neighbor's house, the flood channel, and then the Edison Company. Too close. We have an elementary school. There's also a preschool on Garden Grove Boulevard. What happens if there's a fire? I know you plan on being safe. Things do happen. What happens if there's a fire? I'm concerned for our safety. Will the value of my house go down? I did see that there was a battery storage fire in San Diego. May 6, 24. Another fire in Otay, 9/6/24. Another fire in Escondido, 10/8/24. Valley Center, 9/18/23. These took between 3 days to 2 weeks to extinguish. The firemen had to wear hazmat suits, and some had difficulty extinguishing the fire because when the water hits the container, it causes another fire with I don't understand with lithium. I don't understand that. But I fear that we may have an explosion. It might not be safe for us who are so close. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Donetta Evans, speaking in opposition.
Hi, I'm Donetta Evans.
You can lower the mic.
Okay. I live basically on the other side of the flood channel, just right down the street, so close to where the facility is. And my concern is the same as Lydia's, the health and safety. I mean, this is not a, I mean, 10 years doesn't seem that long to have a lot of history on how these things will behave, can behave. I don't know enough about it either. It's, and I worry about if there's an earthquake, a fire, the safety, health and safety for our surrounding area. I just think it's too close to homes. And like Lydia said, there's a school not very far. There's also a preschool at like, I think it's 6900, which is real close to. It's just on the other side of that storage facility. It's like at the beginning of the little housing tract right there. And I just, I think this should be someplace where it's not by people's homes, in a more rural area, like she said that one of their places is. And that's it for me. Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Vivian Nguyen, speaking in favor.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Vivian, and I'm speaking on behalf of my dad, Andrew, and my mom, Hannah, who couldn't make it here today. My family and I are very excited for this project coming to the city of Westminster. Clean energy is the future, and we're very proud to be landowners of a site that will make a positive impact for the environment and for the city. It's a great location since it's in an industrial area, and it's right next to the SE substation. Thank you.
Next, we have Eric Balcaceres, speaking in favor.
Good evening, Commissioners and city staff. Very happy to be part of this clean energy project coming to Westminster to provide reliability, clean electricity to the local community. I'm happy to be the owner of the smaller lot adjacent to the trucking company. I hope it brings positive impact to the city. We've been in the city for a long time, and I think the site is a great site for the project since it's right next to the Edison plant. So that's pretty much it. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our last speaker is Douglas Mangione, speaking in favor.
Chair, Commissioners, Doug Mangione. I represent the workers that build these things, and to Commissioner Bowie, we built 2 peaker plants in Stanton, 80 megawatts, so when you have high heat events and everybody throws their air conditioners on, the peaker plants fire up. They installed 200-watt, megawatt battery storage a year later, so when they had high heat events, you didn't have to turn even the peaker plant on. So the peaker plant ends up sitting a little, doesn't even turn on. But they were stored there to bring resiliency to that setup. We've done 3 battery storage this size in Santa Ana. We've done battery storage along with solar at Joint Base Los Alamitos, the Joint Army base there. And we are starting one at the Seal Beach Naval Weapons Station, probably going to be along with solar also. I just heard about this. But the military's all in on this. And why they're close, they always come close to switch yards. Switch yards are typically the 11,000 volts come into that thing and that gets dispersed. So they're typically in more of an industrial area. Putting the battery storage close to that, you don't see wires overhead. So if you put these in remote areas, in order to get stored energy into the city, you're going to have to run utility lines overhead. And you have high wind events like we're having now. Edison has to shut off the power. This thing's immune from high wind events. So it'll feed that stored power right into the switch yard, which then puts it right on the grid. So yeah, we are in favor of this. And when you saw the duck curve, we are awash with solar during the day. There's a mountain of this stuff. At 4 or 5 o'clock, everybody comes home. They may plug a car in. They put their stoves on. Everybody starts working. And these storage facilities are picking up that pace for the 3 and 4 hours before everybody starts turning things down and going to bed. So this will alleviate, these things are alleviating the need to build more gas-fired storage, more gas-fired peaker plants, which will clean up the environment. It's going to meet the California clean energy, and you guys can be, one of the cities. We've done them in other places. You can also be in Westminster. You're going to get tax revenue here. It looks good, and I appreciate your remarks on the Power Authority, because that is a sham. Excuse me. I'm glad you're not joining it. But they also just purchased power. They're a power buying authority, and they're not making these things because they don't have the capital to do it. But the Edison companies can purchase power from these folks. But that's why they put them right there next to a switch yard. It alleviates the overhead power lines. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's our last speaker.
Excellent. Applicant, would you like a few minutes? Can we give you 3 minutes to rebut and come back up if you want to speak on any of the other public comments? Address any of the concerns that were brought up?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I wanted to make a few notes on the battery safety issue. We're sensitive to that. We care about it more than anyone because our investment dollars are put behind these facilities. I just want to remind this group that RWE has not had a single fire at any of our battery facilities. And the ones that have burned recently in Southern California were the first generation of batteries to be used for utility scale purposes. We do not design and build them that way anymore. They're completely different. Those batteries are enclosed in structures where workers walk inside and open a door and walk inside to service the batteries. We learned to not do that because that could be unsafe for workers. They have a different battery chemistry. The Tesla Megapack is using a lithium iron phosphate chemistry that has a much higher temperature tolerance than those old-fashioned batteries. This system will be brand new, made to order, state-of-the-art, using the most recent battery safety features based on what we learned over the past 15 years of utility-scale energy storage. In terms of what we do, if there ever were a fire, we are going to have a fire master plan in place with the Orange County Fire Authority. They believe in our project. They believe that it can be designed and built safely. If there were to be a fire, the protocol is to de-energize the site, isolate the megapack that is having the incident, let the reaction take its course. We have found after the Escondido fire that the smoke coming off of the battery system, just even at the front gates of the battery system, were just normal combustion products that you would expect from a home fire or an office fire. There was no extraordinary toxic chemical that was emanating even to the boundaries of that site. So the idea is that we would let the reaction run its course, clean up, remove the mega pack, and that protects our asset and it protects the public. It prevents water from being spilled on the ground. It just makes a cleaner, safer mitigation should there be an incident. And once again, we have not had an incident. The likelihood of there being an incident at this facility is less than 1/10 of 1%. We all carry cell phones that have lithium-ion batteries. We ride electric scooters that have lithium-ion batteries. You can go online right now and find incidents where a cell phone has exploded or a scooter has caught a house fire. You're probably not afraid to carry your cell phone around because we know that it's highly unlikely that your battery will explode or catch fire. The same is true for these utility scale facilities. And this one will be designed using the latest knowledge on how to do it right.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for any of the public speakers tonight before I close the public hearing?
Just have one more question about the fire safety for the facility.
You want me to bring up the applicant?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Tony has one question for you.
Do you have a procedure to control the fire in case any explosion to that facility,
Yeah.
which will happen to the not only to the resident closer to it, but also to the freeway, which will be closed for a certain amount of time?
Right. So I think the explosion risk is maybe overstated. Even in the past facilities, the incident that happened out in Arizona years ago, it was really just one worker attempting to open a cabinet, and the pressure was built up, and that fire died in that incident. It's not an explosion that's so large that could even reach the boundaries of the facility. And on top of that, the Tesla Megapack is designed such that it would never explode. And the reason why is because it has ventilation built in. It is not a walk-in facility where pressure can build up. And on top of that, there's a system inside the Megapack that makes sure that any flammable gases that may be produced it gets rid of it using sparkers to turn it into an inert product. So Tesla has definitely thought through all of that, and the explosion risk is even lower than the fire risk, which is less than 1/10 of 1%.
And what's the life cycle of each battery system?
Yeah, 20 years.
12 years?
Yeah.
All right.
Any follow-up questions? Go ahead.
I have a follow-up question. How long have you been using the Tesla? What are they? Tesla Megapacks. When were these designed? And how long have they been in use?
Well, the Tesla Megapack has existed for the past 15 years. Are you asking when RWE installed their first Tesla Megapack?
Have you said that you've been
Yeah.
installing these projects for the last 10 years.
Yeah,
How long have you been using these ones?
Yeah, so for the Tesla Megapack in particular, I believe that dates back to 2014. Neha, would you know the precise date? I think the start date is about 2014, but I would have to.
Are you always using these then?
Oh, no, yeah,
in
we
your
use a
facility?
variety of manufacturers. There's Fluence, there's GE, there's a variety of Mitsubishi. Tesla is the go-to manufacturer when you're dealing with sites that are small because it's the most compact and efficient system to use in that scenario, yeah.
Are there incidents of those catching fire that you're aware of?
So according to Tesla's website, they claim that they haven't had a fire with this particular model that we're going to be installing at the site, which is the 2XL.
Thank you.
I have one last question for you. I know that some battery compositions are flammable. If they get hit, they get manipulated, you can puncture it, and that actually can create a fire. We've seen it with rolling cars and things like that. I also know that there's other compositions of batteries that are self-extinguishing to where if there's a problem, it doesn't continue to combust and burn.
Right.
Do you have any idea about, I think you said you're using lithium iron phosphate.
Right.
Is there any one way or the other information on how combustible lithium iron phosphate is versus the rest of the market?
Yeah, so I don't think it's a matter of whether the electrolyte is combustible. I do know that the reason why that is the electrolyte of choice for the Megapack is that it has a very high heat tolerance. It can withstand, I believe, 500 degrees Fahrenheit, is it? So it must be, yeah, so more than 300 degrees for this particular chemistry, which is why it's favorable and has a much lower probability of burning.
And it sounds like your master fire plan, you said you could isolate one bank,
Yeah.
leave the other ones on, let it burn itself out and extinguish it,
Yes.
because that's probably the best
Yep,
path
Yes.
to let that one go out, and then
Yep.
you come in for the cleanup and replace it.
exactly.
So that fire's not very likely to spread.
Right.
And the whole entire property's made out of concrete
Right, exactly,
and steel.
exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions? We're good?
No?
the applicant?
One follow-up, yeah, which
one
probably.
more for you.
Apologize, because what you just said brought up a thought. When you're talking about a bank, are you talking about the whole block of them where there were all the doors? So then would like an entire block of them burn, or just the one door?
So they're modules.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that unit that I showed on the screen.
There were a
that
whole
would-
bunch of doors.
Yeah. So that is one module, and that module will be affected. You wouldn't touch that module.
Okay.
But the module next to it, you would protect, de-energize the site, and make sure that that asset is protected.
So by de-energizing the site, you would shut the power off
Right.
to the entire site
Right.
while that was happening?
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
All right. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and close the public hearing. Now, commissioners, if you have any comments, questions, or want to have a discussion,
No?
well, I have a couple of comments and thoughts for myself. Go ahead, if you have something to share.
I just think that this is a little bit the way of the future. You know, the other gentleman that came up that is representing the workers commented on the fact that they've already, and I know there's one in Stanton, there's at the Joint Forces Base, there's a project happening at Naval Weapon Base, and as we go towards a clean energy future with everybody driving electric cars, plugging in, it's almost necessary. Yeah, but I also understand the concerns. Absolutely. So those are my comments.
Well, I know that clean energy is super important for California. It's been mandated by the state moving forward. Clean energy is the way that we're going to be producing. But the problem is with solar, you have a massive amount of production during the middle of the day, and then you have no solar storage. And I deal with this on a residential basis, a very small scale. And California doesn't, while it's producing a lot of solar, we don't have a way to store that and use the power when we need it. That's why we have a lot of rolling blackouts. We have, energy produced on the spot market where, let's say you want to run your air conditioning in the middle of July, and you get your next bill, and your next bill jumped by $300-400 because they had to produce and buy energy from somewhere else on the spot market. So Westminster having an advantage of a major storage plant that produces 110 megawatts of storage, I think is a great service to the community, to where we're ahead of other communities around, making sure that our residents don't experience blackouts. But as the residents have stated, fire and safety has got to be the number one concern. And if the OC Fire Authority approves the plan, and they've looked at the site design and notated that it wouldn't be a problem to service if there was a very slim chance of an incident, and we're using the latest and greatest technology at our facility, I think it would make the most amount of sense for the entire project. There's two ways that California and Edison can try to overcome the lack of energy when we need it, and that is to have every resident put a battery in their house. Or you buy, let's say, a Cybertruck, or you buy a Prius. You then use your Prius as your battery. So you plug your Prius in, instead of charging it, your car now feeds your house. And in some cases, it's going to cost residents anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 to put those battery storage devices in your house. And then you're still going to be paying the Edison prices to charge your own battery. Maybe you do solar, so your solar's charging your battery. Either way, it's very, very expensive and cost prohibitive to a lot of residents in the city. This is probably as technology gets better, this is the first opportunity I've heard of where we can, on a local scale, on a small scale, actually store energy cheaply and efficiently for our residents so that they don't have to make those huge monetary investments in their own house. So from a safety perspective, I look at it this way. If we had 30,000 batteries all over the city spread out, that's probably more of a fire risk because the installations haven't been regulated as well versus one central area or 110-watt plant of storage. So there's got to be some trade-offs there. I think financially for the residents of the city, this is a great project. For the revenue of the city, it's a great project. There's a lot of benefits that we can take advantage of and be on the cutting edge ahead of some other cities around us. It'll give us a competitive advantage. The site layout and design looks good. I think the conditional use permit to me makes a lot of sense. And in talking about that with the zoning changes for the recommendation over to the council, as far as getting the PD overlay off of there, that makes sense as well. Any other comments or questions from commissioners or any motions?
Yes, I would like to make a motion
Go ahead.
to bring this on to the discussion, finalize it.
So, Tony, is your motion to adopt Resolution 2024-0047 and also the secondary resolution to pass over to the City Council, 0252?
Yes.
On both?
And if I may, there is a minor correction at the top of page 7 of the resolution. It references chapter 17.650. It should actually reference 17.660. I assume that that would be part of your motion.
That was page 7.
Yeah, page 7 on
It's a
attachment 1.
cross-reference to a municipal code section.
Item number 5,
Yep, I found it. 17.650 should be what?
660.
Are we going to say anything about the fencing?
It's a great question. Tony's got a motion to adopt as is.
Do we want to amend that to address the fencing, to make that, what did you say, Stephanie? We can make an amendment so that it can be a requirement? The applicant has said that they're open to the boundary fencing being upgraded from chain link and barbed wire.
Yeah, so the way the condition of approval number 7 is written is that it's written intentionally open to allow flexibility for staff to work with the applicant to find an appropriate design and material depending on just, the site-specific, circumstances. So it doesn't mandate necessarily that the block wall has to be extended along the entirety. It's more about removing any undesirable elements such as barbed wire, for example. And then also just giving it a more cohesive and improved overall appearance. So it's written to be intentionally flexible so that we have that opportunity to discuss it during the plan check process once the applicant has an opportunity to look at what would be feasible. But if the Planning Commission desires, you could make it more specific if there is a very specific type of wall or fencing material that you would like to be used, and that could be incorporated into the condition of approval.
I think that one of my concerns would be the potential for vandalism or people getting into the site. It's next to a storage facility, and this is going to be an unmanned site. And so if we had, just people, up to no good, jumping in over or cutting a chain link fence or something, I think that it would be in the benefit of the site and the city to have something that's more secure there, because what's there currently are not unmanned sites. And so I think that's really my concern over aesthetics on a sidewall.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. The storage facility to the east that's already going to be a controlled environment.
Correct.
So you can't get into there. I'm not too worried about break-ins or something like that. But on the gentleman's club side, it would be nice to have a consistent block wall that's 8 foot tall, very hard to scale, down, the one.
Across that short side.
Yeah, and down the backside as well. Is there anything that you would propose to amend to the text of point 7, on page 7 of attachment 1? Anything specific?
I'm not sure how to word it because I'm open to the aesthetic. I'm more concerned about, the security of the site from people being able to, easily cut through chain link. The applicant's raising their hand. Are we allowed to ask them to?
Public hearing has been closed.
Okay, so
Sorry.
But yes, that's my concern. I'd like to have some, if we could work that in, we need to amend it somehow. I'd like to keep it open-ended so that city staff can work with the applicant during planning, but I do think that that's something that we should all be concerned about, is just the security of the site, and you can easily cut through chain link.
So to the text, you have fencing, let's see, the applicant shall revise the plans to upgrade the entirety of the site perimeter fencing to give the overall property a cohesive appearance and approve the overall appearance of the site. You could say, right in there, you could say additionally.
Ensure security of the site.
Or you could say, comma, keeping site intrusion at a minimum.
Chair
Or-
Commissioner, or
Sure.
Chair Wilbert, if I may, I would suggest as just a very easy addition is to change it to say, and to improve the overall safety and appearance of the site. So just adding the two words, safety and appearance of the site, so that it's less about just purely aesthetics, but really looking at the safety and security of the site. And duly noted as far as all of the comments about securing it, making sure that, especially along the Gentlemen's Club, that there isn't any, areas where the fencing is a little weaker that could, attract that kind of nuisance behavior, and that's certainly something that we can work with the applicant on based on the condition of approval to make sure that that's addressed. I do understand that the applicant is looking to put together construction drawings and submit that into plan check fairly soon, so this isn't a conversation that we would be having years down the line. It's something that we would be working on in the fairly near future.
Yeah, because I would even look at along Garden Grove Boulevard where it's proposed as wrought iron, and then the swing gate, that's what my note was, is that the fence and the swing gate is wrought iron. And because then that's going to give, people are going to be able to look right into the site while the landscaping is growing and maturing, and see that it's an unoccupied site, basically, unmanned, I should say.
Are you in favor of adding the word safety into that?
I am in favor of
text?
that.
Okay. Any further
Commentary?
expansion on that, or I think that's enough to
I think that's
give
enough
direction?
to give direction to staff to be able to look at the different proposed fence materials that they're looking at.
Commissioner Bowie, question for you. Would you be willing to amend your motion to include the word safety in between the words overall and appearance on point 7 of attachment 1, page 7, and then also the amendment for 17.660 in the municipal code under point 5?
It would be to add safety and appearance?
Overall,
So it'd be and,
yeah,
so adding two words, safety.
safety and appearance of the site.
Adding two word safety and. Okay, I would like to amend that, make the motion to that, adding two word.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Including the correction that I mentioned before, which
Correct.
you
Yeah.
previously approved. Okay.
Do you want to add that, Commissioner Bowie? The correction?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to include in the correction.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bowie, seconded by Commissioner Rose, to to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Westminster, California, approving case number 2024-0047, conditional use permit and development review to develop and operate a new utility facility functioning as a battery energy storage system, Westminster Reliability Project, located at 6972 Garden Grove Boulevard, APN 203-431-03, and 7002 Garden Grove Boulevard, APN 203-431-15. Second resolution, we have a motion by Commissioner Bowie, seconded by Commissioner Rose, to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Westminster, California, recommending that the mayor and city council approve case number 2024-0252 to adopt a zoning map amendment removing the planned development overlay zoning district from the property located at 7002 Garden Grove Boulevard, APN 203-431-15, to include the amendments." And Stephanie, if you could read those amendments, please.
Take the vote. Vote first. Roll call vote.
Oh, yes, of course. Commissioner Bowie?
Yes.
Commissioner Rose?
Yes.
Chair Wolbert?
Yes.
Is it my turn?
Motion passes 3-0, sorry.
Okay. The Commission's action on this item shall become effective 15 days after the decision date identified in the notice of decision. The applicant and/or any other interested party may file an appeal of the Commission's action to the City Council. The appeal must be in writing and filed with the city clerk within the previously mentioned 15-day period.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 9, regular business. I believe we have none. Same with agenda item number 10, reports. Item 11, matters from staff. Do we have any matters from staff?
The only thing I will mention is that there are no items anticipated for the next regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting, so staff does anticipate that we will be sending out a notice of cancellation.
Thank you. Agenda item 12, matters from the Planning Commission, including AB 1234 reports, when required. Anything from the commissioners?
No.
None for me either. All right, we are going to go on to agenda item 13, adjournment. The next regular meeting will be held on December 4th, then, if next week is going to be canceled. Thank you all for being here tonight. Have a great night.
Thank you.